Hey everybody, Rhadamant here. Thanks for tuning in to episode 2 of the Rhadamant Hardcore series. So, let's get going. We left off towards the end of the winter, and before I get really into the gameplay, I wanted to go over some tips I received. So, the very first tip is doubled. Alvor and Mboss14 both mentioned that things like farms and trees can be outside my walls without issue. In order to wall off effectively, I don't really need to make sure that everything is inside the walls, just the important stuff. And I will expand the city with that sort of idea in mind. And then Vladimir mentioned that the limits I had for clothing, up to 125%, should be replicated once again so that we have warm enough clothing for an expanding population. So that's a very good point. All right, let's get going here. Speeding up time just a little bit. Looking at our food, it looks pretty good. Looking at our workload, looks pretty good. We are getting somewhat close to being able to tech up. Now I want to get both sheep and flax before I bother with weaving, ideally. So those are my next sort of check marks for things to unlock. Oh, bear wandering into my territory. A young bear, a young male. Let's select some hunters. You're preying, maybe, and eating. I won't stop you. Looking at my milestones. We haven't killed any raiders yet. We haven't even survived 2 years. We're still very much in our infancy of survival. I'm hoping to probably get my welfare up a bit. As you can see, very quickly we made some additional skins, outfits, which is particularly useful in wintertime. I would say probably keeping warm is more important than keeping cool. Do I have math to back that up? No, but it's probably somewhat correct. I am going to probably increase the limit that I want for fish. As you can see, doing it in the limits, it changes every work area, so I don't have to keep redoing it. And then I am not comfortable with this bear being here. I'm going to queue it up to be hunted. Let's see if we do that automatically. And we did get enough for flax domestication. So for now, I'm keeping my farms nice and close to my town. But eventually they'll go outside the walls. So we'll just plop a little bit of flax down. And hope to grow it. Looks to me like, let's take a quick inventory. We could use some additional flint, but when is that not true? Early game. And yeah, everything else looks okay. We had a lot of sheep recently born. Let's go ahead and see about taming some more. I find that wool is a really nice sort of trade good to have. Especially early on. And I'll just hunt the miscellaneous creatures around the base that are easy to get to. And let's speed time back up. Now I could probably get away with some more sledges. They're always very, very useful. Kind of expensive early on, but I would say worth it almost all the time. Now we don't exactly have any surplus of wool yet, despite the sheep that we have, so hopefully we'll start shearing. So that will be very handy. A lot of people running at reduced efficiency due to a lack of morale. We're getting a lot of first kills. We check our knowledge here. There's a lot of animals that we have not killed a lot of. As I said before, if I can find the things that will end up going extinct pretty early on, that would be great. Especially if they're close to the base. I don't want to have to travel too far to do my hunting. That's a good way to die of starvation or dehydration or something like that. So there we go. A whole bunch of... we got the 20 people in the settlement even before we got survival or first blood. Expanding quickly. And we have enough for more knowledge due to a lot of knowledge that we just accumulated. So let's get that weaver going. And crank that out. So that is production. Weaver. And I'm going to put the weaver right next to the flax field. And put the outfitter, again, close to the flax field and the storage hut. Trader has arrived. Cool. You have underground mining for me at average commission. It's not likely I'll be able to afford to buy this, but I can always try. I'm taking a look. Yeah, likely I'm going to have to sell too many precious tools in order to make this work. But what I can do is buy some of your linen. And that will get us jump started on nicer clothing. My welfare is going up. That's good. Definitely going to need some additional housing soon. We're going with this sort of awkward crescent circle thing. I'm not exactly sure how to explain how the settlement is developing, but we've tamed our yet another animal. And you know what I can start doing is, even though I don't want the goats, the ibexes, I can tame them. Oh, there we go. Water, weaver, berries, a lot of first structures here. I can tame them just to get my animal population up, which wouldn't be terrible. We are in summer, a month of generally fair temperatures. Checking my resources once again. Human is the most important resource. Here we go. Now that we have linen and wool, I'm going to change my limits for clothing. I'm going to stop making skins and leathers unless I need to, and start making the upgraded wool and linen outfits, because we don't need the leathers and skins. Plus, leathers and skins are very useful to make things like sledges and rolling monoliths or megaliths. So I can definitely put those resources to better use elsewhere. Now, one important thing to do early on is work on population, because outnumbering the raiders that are going to come, definitely important. We don't want them to outnumber us. That is a recipe for death. It looks like we have a lack of some logs, so I can cut down some trees that are sort of in the way for expansion reasons. Checking my next tech. Fortifications would be very good to get those out before raiders start showing up. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to defend your settlement. You can either cluster all of your watchtowers sort of in the middle and draw all the enemies to the middle of your base, or you can watchtower up choke points. I'm probably going to go the choke points method, but both are pretty valid. One requires you to build tight and efficient, and I do plan on making my base sort of efficiently, but you know, the goal of this is to get 150 people in the community. So with that in mind, I do have to be mindful about how tight I build. Just taking a look, seeing if there's any creatures that are sort of on their own, like this auroch that I can hunt. Or a cave lion. If I go for the cave lion, I'm almost certainly going to need to back up. So you can see we're getting our animal population up, and the goat I just tamed are all going to be slaughtered. There, see? But it's to... generally when we slaughter goats, we do it sort of very close to the base, so it's easier to harvest them. And B, it does get our total population up, so I get credit for that knowledge, even if they no longer exist. Okay, bunch of hunters coming over. This should be easy. It's an old aura. Although those two hunters are now tired. Alright. Big scary cave lion. Not anymore. Alright, so we just survived for 2 years total. Let's go ahead and unlock fortifications. Now I'm not going to worry about a lot of palisades because A, we don't really have the manpower to put palisades up everywhere, and B, even if we did, the watchtowers are far more important. So I'm going to just plop watchtowers around the perimeter of the base for now. I do have a milestone here, which is to get 5 watchtowers, which is why I placed 5. And all the recent trees that I queued to cut are going to play a role in getting those constructed, obviously. Watchtowers are not cheap to build. And that will help to defend against the first few waves of raiders, but of course this is hardcore mode, and the waves of raiders will come quick and strong, so as to not be ignored. Now looking, we do have the start of some linen and wool outfits, which is great. And it's telling me my workload is too high. I very much doubt that, but that said, I can give them a little bit of an R&R because I do want them to tend the fields. One of our hunters got an infection. Hopefully they'll rest and recover. And there's my first watchtower. Now, if we check the limits here, the knowledge limits, for watchtowers, 5 gives us some knowledge, and then because it's a milestone, it will also give us some knowledge. But then some buildings, like watchtowers, you can build a lot of, some you can't. So I think at this point, our storage hut, is very much full. So let's go get another one of these. And I'm going to put storage near the outfitter up here. So let's see. Totems and skull poles, I can definitely afford to build some for knowledge. I could probably do another hearth. That wouldn't kill me. My stone pile's here, so I'll put it right next to the stone pile. What else do we have going? These two I can't build because they're lower level tech than I even can do anymore. We could do another mortar. Again, right next to the rock stockpile. We're not going to keep the buildings. We're going to recycle them, but figured why not? Let's get those out. We're headed into winter. We have pretty good food stockpiles, but wouldn't hurt to queue up to hunt anything close to the base. We're getting our 10th of tools. That will be coming pretty quick. Once you get your 10th axe, you usually get your 10th pick, 10th knife, 10th sickle, etc., etc. Pretty quickly. We don't have underground mining yet, so I can't turn that into an underground mine. We do still have some flint nodes up, but I should probably queue up. Let's go ahead and do this. Queue up more obtaining flint for now. I'm going to edit this to shrink it down and maybe increase the people. Okay, these watchtowers are waiting on trees to be cut. We still have a bunch of trees queued up to be chopped down. But I'll queue some more up because we're going to use the wood pretty quickly. Oh, a lot of people just joined. So that is yet another milestone. Megalithism is probably the next thing I'm going to get, because that will help raise my morale and prestige. And we also got a trader. Hello. You've got sheep, wool. I'm going to buy your wool for now to supplement what I'm not able to supply my community. And I'm going to sell 3 skins outfits. Actually, I want to sell my sling too, so let's go ahead and buy raw wool. The more I can supplement the transition from leather and skins to wool and linens, the better, in my opinion. Now, for now, I'm just going to queue up that 1 megalith to be mined and moved. There's a lot of construction projects going on, so I'm not going to load these guys down with any more to do. We have our 2nd watchtower coming out and a 3rd shortly thereafter. Most of the projects are working on waiting on lumber. And we have a blizzard, so I really do hope that everyone has warm clothing. We have actually plenty of skins and wool combined. We have 30 outfits for 29 people. So no one should be without warm clothing here. Nope, storage hut's going up. Now in the upgraded version, you can set animal limits in the stables. You can set your defenses on watchtowers. They did make it some nice quality of life improvements. So the last of the flint got mined out here. I'm going to make sure that I'm mining the closest flint. So I think this is closest, but if there's closer, there's flint on the ground here that I could just collect. So I'll set up to facilitate that. As you can see, there's due to my lack of sledges and manpower, there's some raw meat and bones out here from previous hunts that I haven't even collected. And my first raider attack coming from the left here. Alright, we will alert everyone. So we've got, as you can see, a lot more raiders. We have 9 raiders coming. And I'm trying to manually order my people to come defend I'm not doing it very gracefully. As you can see, I'm suffering from this blizzard. They came right as the blizzard started, which is a real pain. So let's take a look. I lost 3 dogs and killed 9 raiders, I believe. Yep, 9 raiders. Lost a watchtower and lost a few good people in the fight too, in the defense. I think I lost 3, maybe? I was at 29, now I'm at 26. A 3-to-9 ratio is respectable. And I'm glad I had a watchtower on the corner that they came in. We will probably be able to salvage some tools off of them, I hope. And rebuild that watchtower in due time. So that would be another milestone, First Blood. And I'm working towards the 4th milestone, Basic Defense, and soon, hopefully getting the... going to upgrade to Copper Age. I do want to get all the Neolithic first. You don't need to. You can always skip it. So if I really, for instance, didn't care about stilting for bridges, I could skip it. Or pig domestication, I could skip it. Or underground mining, although that's ill-advised, but you could skip it. But I think the completionist in me... Oh, wow. Grigor. Nice name. Would be sad if I skipped it. So I'm choosing not to. Some people are going to contract diseases from the fight. And yet, we'd lost yet another to disease. So once this watchtower is completed, we'll get the milestone and we'll get more knowledge to unlock more tech. I'm very happy that the winter's about to break. Oh, there we go. So let's go with underground mining. And we'll put a few flint mines down. Now, of course, these require more logs, so it's good that I've queued up a lot of trees to be cut. Now, straw is something I have almost none of right now. I think what I'm going to do is... Well, let's see. Barley is planted in the spring. So if I remove this farm now while it's still winter, we can replant it soon. So there's always going to be a season that, you know, planting in the winter, harvesting in the summer. So in the fall, you can move your peas, so on and so forth. So this winter, I ran out of straw feeding my sheep, either because I expanded too many huts and storage or watchtowers or whatever. It doesn't really matter. I just know that I ran out. Luckily, the winter's about to break, so my sheep are not likely to starve, but I'm definitely going to want more straw in the future. And when traders come, I'll remember to trade for straw. It's an underappreciated resource. Died of old age, that's good. Not that they died, but that they reached old age. It means I'm doing something right. Checking my welfare confirms it. Now in the spring here, we have a lot of flax and barley to plant. So the planting seasons, the farming is weighted so that there's more work to be done in the spring. So that's something for me to fix in the future, is to have more winter and fall crops. Just food for thought. And of course, as a result, it's going to tell me my workload is too high. Which it is, but I'm not going to fix it. A lot of these huts are requiring repair, It was a cold blizzard winter, so it did damage to the buildings. Hopefully this trader has some straw for me, and they do. So that will keep me afloat for a bit. And maybe nothing else. I'll buy some flour too, just to even out the trade. Let's see if animals have returned. So we do have the megalith here. I'm going to queue it up to be rolling. And I'm just going to drop a menhir, maybe right in the center of town. Right in the middle of my mortars and my hearths. Nah, maybe I'll move it. That kind of seems unnecessary. I'll just put it with the other morale buildings. So we got 5 watchtowers concurrently. This is our, of course, 6th watchtower we've constructed. And we obtain knowledge all the way up until 10. Now, another thing I could do is, once the spring planting season is over and the workload is a little bit lighter, I will queue up for totems and skull poles, because we don't have all of the knowledge from constructing those. Despite all the trees I cut down, we're still in need of logs. And I'm just going to queue to cut them by hand. I'm sort of trying to cut the ones that are closest to our perimeter, A, because they're quickest to get to, and B, because they're in our way once we want to expand our territory. First flint mine just got constructed, though. And knowledge. I don't gain knowledge from this other flint mine, so I'm just going to cancel construction altogether and refund the logs. I think I'll be moving on to copper before this closest flint mine here becomes tapped. Looks like there's animals to capture. So we'll get those going. Now, my limits on sheep, I'm going to set right now to 10. I don't want more than 10 sheep initially. Wild horse escaped. It's right next to the base, so very much doubt. Again, we have enough to unlock, and let's go for stilting. And build a little bridge here. Seems like passage around this area is most desired. Nothing like a good desire path. Looking at our food, I do realize it's a little low. So we could build 3 more skull poles and 3 more totems. So there's a skull pole and a totem. Yeah, I'll put it over here. Seems like a strange place for it, but whatever. Alright, speed time back up. If we make one more sledge, we'll get the knowledge from that. So let's queue that up. We only really needed one bridge. So unless I have need of additional bridges, there's no point to do additional bridges unless the transportation requires it, but knowledge won't. Anything easy to hunt near the base, I'm just going to queue up. I'm not going to micromanage the hunting necessarily. Just let them manage it. So again, we are low on straw. Looks like most of the barley fields got planted though, which is good. And hopefully we gain a lot of extra straw from that. Checking the resources. In total, we're waiting on some leathers. We have tannin and raw skin. So soon we should be able to make the leathers. And we need 40 more knowledge. Ah, that sounds daunting. 40 more knowledge to tech up to the next age. Well, guys, that's about all the time I have for this episode, this series. So if you have any tips, tricks, feedback for me, drop me a line. If you want me to cover something I did in this episode more in detail or explain some reasonings, let me know. And any tips and tricks that I like, I will obviously share with all of you. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you tune in next time. Adios.